All right, man, peace. So, brothers, I remember back in the early to mid 2000s, there was a great debate over who was the best wide receiver in the NFL. Was it Randy Moss, the electrically explosive wideout of the Minnesota Vikings, who have phenomenal hands and always seem to be able to get behind the defense? Was it Terrell Owens, the big, oversized but explosively fast wide receiver who, once he caught the football, ran through and over defenders like a running back? Was it Chad Ochocinco, the wideout who seemed to have impeccable footwork and ran the best routes? Was it Marvin Harrison, the quiet but dependable wideout of the Indianapolis Colts, who always seemed to run the perfect route and always seemed to be there whenever Peyton Manning needed him? But in my view, beyond a shadow of a doubt, from around 2004 to 2006 or 7, the best wide receiver pound for pound, inch for inch in the National Football League was none other than Steve Smith. And the way that I knew that he was the best wide receiver in the NFL was because he was only 5'9", around 200 pounds. But his name would always be mentioned in the conversation of who was the best wide receiver. So you already know, once they're talking about a wide receiver who's that small as possibly being the best, it's because he is. And Steve Smith, in my view, was the best wide receiver in the NFL for around a 3 or 4 year period because he did everything and he did it in the biggest moments, unlike most of those other guys that I named. And that brings us to today, because when the question is asked, who's the best wideout in the NFL? Some people are going to say Julio Jones. Some people are going to say DeAndre Hopkins. Others are going to say Odell Beckham. Some may even say the brother down there in New Orleans who plays with Drew Brees. Some may say Mike Evans in Tampa Bay. Others might even go back a couple of years and say, you know what? When A.J. Green is fully healthy, he's the best. But in my view, and it might be controversial, but within a season or two, people are going to start to give Tyreek Hill his credit as arguably the best wide receiver in the NFL. Why is that? Because he has no weaknesses whatsoever. He has no weakness. He has great hands. He runs great routes. He's explosive, both vertically and horizontally. The only thing that he's missing is the stature. And that's why his name never gets mentioned. And of course, you have to give honorable mention to the great Antonio Brown, because Antonio Brown, pound for pound, inch for inch, he's right there with Jerry Rice as the greatest wide receiver that I've ever seen. I would take Jerry over Antonio Brown, but only because Jerry is much more mentally stable, taller, with longer arms, etc. But Antonio Brown can do everything. But as of right now, when we're talking about active wide receivers, pound for pound, inch for inch, I would take Tyreek Hill over them all. He has a Steph Curry effect out there on the football field, where everyone is obsessed with where he's at because he can take the top off of a defense. So, of course, they're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
Let's move on to a guy nobody will pass on, Tyreek Hill, who has turned into one of the most electrifying receivers the league has ever seen.
It's very rare that you come across a wide receiver with that type of raw speed who also runs routes with that level of proficiency and also has great hands.
In his young career. In fact, Hill has been so good, he landed the top spot in Chris Sims' wide receiver rank. Ahead of guys like Julio Jones, Michael Thomas, Mike Evans, and DeAndre Hopkins.
I would agree. I would agree with all of that. And I'm sure that once again, certain cats are going to say, what are you talking about? What are you smoking? Michael Thomas had 185 catches last season. Nothing against Michael Thomas. But he basically plays pitch and catch with Drew Brees. He's a great player, runs great routes, has great hands. But in my view, Tyreek Hill is more explosive than Michael Thomas, is a bigger play wide receiver when it comes to who's going to stretch the field more. Does he have the hands of a DeAndre Hopkins? No, but nobody does. DeAndre Hopkins is probably third in a list of all-time great hands receivers, along with Chris Carter and Larry Fitzgerald. But the brother Tyreek Hill has great hands. He also shows up in big games, unlike Odell Beckham, who in his one chance in a playoff game was abysmal. He was terrible. Now, we haven't seen Mike Evans in a playoff game yet, but Tyreek Hill is more explosive than him also.
Oh my God.
And when it comes to Julio, of course, is an all-time just specimen. But Julio can disappear into the crowd sometimes.
You think Tyreek has earned the #1 spot? Absolutely. Finish. He's earned the #1 spot. Absolutely? He has. Yes? He has. But let me tell you why. You said Patrick Mahomes earned this contract, right?
Hey, yeah,
right?
Yeah, we got lowball. Yeah, he earned that.
He ain't do it.
He didn't get lowball. He lowballed himself. And what you're going to find, brothers, sometimes when you're in a big lake, you have to settle for a smaller fish when you know that there are bigger fish as you take your boat further out. Patrick Mahomes sees the big picture. It's easy to go for the big money grab to impress the analysts on television and the newspapers and the internet, but Patrick Mahomes is thinking bigger. So kudos to him.
Patrick Mahomes won the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah, he
ain't do it alone. Patrick Mahomes won MVP, right?
Yeah.
He ain't do it alone. Oh. So you can't tell me that Tyreek Hill hasn't at least earned that spot.
And Tyreek Hill has had multiple 1,000-yard receiving seasons even before Patrick Mahomes got there.
#1. But let me tell you why. Mike Thomas, he a beast. Mike Thomas going to lead the league in catches. He going to get his 13 catches, his 130 yards a game. Julio Jones.
Yes, that pitch and catch shit that he plays with Drew Brees, averaging 10 yards a catch.
Unfortunately plays for a team that ain't win no games as of late. Odell Beckham when healthy, he a dog too. DeAndre Hopkins, he that dude. Mike Evans, he that dude. All these cats. But Marcellus, you played on defense.
Yeah.
I played on defense. Linebacker. I got to coordinate the defensive line and the defensive backs. You want to know who the hardest dude to prepare for is going to be? Tyreek Hill. Because you can teach somebody how to run routes.
Okay.
You can get on the jug machine and bomb. You can work on them hands. But what you can't coach, sir? Can't coach speed. And speed kills. So has Tyreek Hill earned that #1 position? He has. Am I going to be mad necessarily if somebody who wants to put somebody else up there? I'm not going to go crazy about.
Agreed. If someone thinks that Julio Jones is the best wide receiver in the NFL, I'm not going to argue with you about that. Julio Jones is almost like T.O. if T.O. was mentally stable.
But you can't be mad at a dude who helped his quarterback win it.
And had better hands.
Super Bowl MVP, NFL MVP, helped his quarterback win the Super Bowl. Tyreek Hill is really the conduit outside of Mahomes to the best offense we've seen as of late.
Wow. I don't think we saw the same rankings. Chris Sims should have ranked him #1 in the fastest wide receiver rankings. That's the only thing
That's not fair, though, Marcellus. And this is something that Tyreek Hill is going to have to deal with because he's known for his speed. Therefore, he does not get the credit that he deserves for his route running and for his hands. Basically, he gets spoken about like he's Ted Ginn Jr., and he's not.
Tyreek Hill, another player I fully respect, is the best at everything else that comes with that position, which you will sum up and say who's the best. It's not even close. It's not Tyreek Hill. Here we go. Since you want to say he's a conduit to Patrick Mahomes, right? Okay. Let me just give you what his rankings were last year, just for your knowledge. 42nd in targets. Okay, that's not killing you. They ain't throwing the ball a lot. How about 36 in receptions? Oh, you didn't catch that, man.
Well, bro, how are you going to give his targets as 42 and then try to kill him for having receptions being ranked at 36? How could he be ranked #1 or #5 or #10 in receptions if he's that low in targets? So if you're going to explain the targets, then at least explain the receptions as well.
31st in receiving yards. You write that one down? How about 20th in yards per reception? Wait a minute. The fastest guy that we can't defend all of... Yeah, you better Google that one. You don't trust me. 20th in yards per reception. You're the fastest dude on the field. And then 13th, not even top 10, in touchdown receptions. And you trying to tell me he's #1? He's not even top 10 in anything.
Well, Marcellus Wiley, actually you're making his point for him. Because the brother Acho basically stated that Tyreek Hill's fate and his success is tied to Patrick Mahomes's. And we saw a serious depreciation in Patrick Mahomes' output from the previous year.
I want you to push back because I got more ammo. Are you going to push back right now or you want some more to see?
Bro. Here's what's crazy.
Nothing was top 10.
You just came at me with a whole bunch of stats to undermine Tyreek Hill instead of praising his other cats. So you telling me it's Tyreek Hill's fault that Travis Kelce exists? You telling me it's Tyreek Hill's fault that Mecole Hardman exists? You're telling me
It's Tyreek Hill's fault that Sammy Watkins, that with a straight face, you trying to tell me Tyreek Hill doesn't have that many targets and that's undermining Tyreek Hill's greatness? It's not Tyreek Hill's fault that he has Hill of Trav. That's not his fault.
They had to share the ball. You going to share ball argument.
Let me talk.
Well, that is partially valid, but on top of that, we also have to keep in mind that Patrick Mahomes did have some injury issues last year, and in addition to that, when he did come back, there were some adjustments that were made on the Chiefs' style of offense that did impact his overall offensive proficiency. There's a reason why Patrick Mahomes was not even in the conversation for NFL MVP after around week 4.
Tyreek Hill. Ooh, big-time players. They make big-time plays. And what, sir?
Something about 6.
In big-time games. Go ahead.
In big-time games.
I want to hear about that.
Then let me just show you. The Super Bowl. The game is on the line. Tyreek Hill is 3rd and 17. Patrick Mahomes, he needs to dial one up, Marcellus. And what does he do? He goes to the only player who could have made the only play at that point in time.
And you see how open he was. That's the point that Acho is making. Like, Tyreek Hill is able to get wide open, even when the defense is focusing on him.
He threw a punt. He threw a punt. Well, somebody had to get down there to catch it. My point being, Tyreek Hill does things that other players don't even have the ability to do.
Agreed.
You can put him at that number 1 spot.
Ooh. He does things that other players don't have the ability to do.
Don't have the ability.
But he doesn't do things that other players produce. He doesn't do the same. When I give you a full screen, you know you're in trouble. Got me a full screen. I wonder if Tyreek Hill, in his first 59 career games, since that's all he's played, is number 1 in any of these categories. Oh, no. There go the names again that were lower on Chris Sims' rankings. Odell, Julio Jones, Mike Evans, Antonio Brown, DeAndre Hopkins, all better than Tyreek Hill by this.
Well, let me say this very quickly. We also have to keep in mind that Tyreek Hill, coming out of the draft, was not even viewed as a player who would be a starting wide receiver for them. He had to earn that right. That's part of, being quote-unquote undersized and the stigmas that players who are undersized have to deal with. Normally, they'll start them off as a punt returner or a kickoff returner. The same thing happened with Steve Smith, and he had to prove it. So it's difficult to evaluate who's the better player just based on comparing statistics. Odell Beckham came out of the draft being considered probably the best wide receiver in that draft, along with Mike Evans, who I think came out in the same year. Antonio Brown also started off as a punt returner because he's considered undersized also. Now, DeAndre Hopkins, I think he came out of Clemson. He was very ballyhooed, but it took him a while to get going because of the lack of quarterback. Are we to assume that DeAndre Hopkins is a way worse player than Odell Beckham because he has almost 100 fewer catches in his first 59 games? Or should we also evaluate who the quarterback was, what the scheme was, what the system was, and who they were trying to market? Please keep in mind that Odell Beckham on the Giants was the only player that anybody cared about. So it almost became like a pitch and catch between Eli and Odell for the first 3 years that Odell was there.
Amount of games played. So first you told me it was a share the ball argument, and now it's what, share the NFL experience argument? You got anything else to say? We can move on.
So how many Super Bowls them guys have, bro? Antonio Brown, Odell. How many?
They took the full screen away, so we got to move on.
And that's a good point. That's an intangibles point. Tyreek Hill is a big-time player. He plays well in big games. And the only other player that I've seen on this list who I know is going to play well in big games is Antonio Brown. And I'll also give Julio credit as well. But Julio will sometimes disappear.
Full screen back. Don't bring Odell, how many Super Bowls he got? None. Wow. Mike Evans, none. Okay, Antonio Brown not even in the league. You see, he got the NFL by his name. He don't even got the logo.
I'm not that big on making the Super Bowl argument with wide receivers because, as we know, football is such a dependent game. But I do agree that there is some validity in making sure that we scrutinize how well wide receivers play in big games. It's not so much about the winning and the losing to me with the wide receiver. It's, did he show up? Was he able to get open in big moments? Did he make big catches? Things like that.
DeAndre Hopkins, none. So, and I'm not going to say it's actually, it was Tyreek Hill's fault. And he does deserve the credit for them winning that Super Bowl because when the game turned, It was because of Tyreek Hill. Now, sir, do what you need to do if you need to take us to all I know is you win with your quarterback argument, which is it's all about winning the Super Bowl. Put it on a receiver argument that was about he's the best receiver. Do what you have to do to win the argument. Oh, my God.
Yeah, he got desperate there.
Fastest, that's about it. But coming up.
But anyway, that's basically it on that, brothers. We'll see how things go over the course of this NFL season, and if Tyreek Hill will finally start to get the credit that he deserves as being arguably the best wide receiver in the NFL. In my view, today's Steve Smith. So peace.